What's going on, everybody? Today I'm trying to do hunter eyes. So that's like, you basically look more like this. I'm probably not doing it perfectly, or maybe I don't have the ability. A lot of it's genetic, but it's basically just where you have your eyes more sort of like this. Because a lot of times the other option is prey eyes, which is like this, which is what I have most of the time throughout my life. But I'm trying to do hunter eyes. It's kind of or it's a looks maxing thing, and I don't see what's wrong with trying it out. Um, I'm trying to get used to keeping my brow relaxed, actually, because almost all the time my brow is not relaxed. But anyways, I got kind of a weird video here today, weird vlog. This is about I went to a massage today, and yeah, my massage therapist is a guy, which I don't know, like, I kind of didn't think that was such a bad thing, but let me give my reasoning. Okay, let me give my reasoning. So, I know you might think it's weird or gay, and at first I was like, it's not that bad. Men do everything better than women. And I've been to a female massage therapist before. They're good too, but I don't know. It's just, I didn't think it was such a big deal. But he like lightly hit me in the head this time by mistake. And this is not really to do with the whole gay thing or weird thing, but he hit me in the head by mistake, and he was like apologizing a lot. And actually, I don't like when when people feel bad on account of me. So I was telling him like it's fine, and I was just laughing it off, but it was kind of weird. And I think people just sometimes have a bad day. And I think he was tired today. But yeah, I don't know. Is it weird or gay? It depends on who you ask, I think would be the biggest answer. And I value certain people's opinions more than others. And sometimes I don't even look at people's opinions because almost everybody's wrong. But so other times I take into account like general consensus. It's hard to really find out answers to questions like that, but I'm not really sure. I know a ton of people would probably say, of course it's gay, but I don't know. I don't think it is. And but when I got there, and my other reasoning is that men do like almost everything better than women. And I know women would hate to hear that. But the thing is, nobody watches my videos anyway, so whatever. But my reasoning or my thinking is that men actually do pretty much everything better than women. It depends, obviously, on the individual person, but it's like the distribution is that men do almost everything better than women. There's exceptions, obviously, but yeah, I figured, yeah, so that was kind of my thinking. Like, let me just be clear, that's my thinking when I, got a male massage therapist. And he actually is really good. Like, he helps, he like does a thing where he presses really hard on my temples while I open my jaw, and it actually really hurts, but it relieves my headaches. Like, it's really helpful. So I guess you could say a woman could do that too, but I don't know. Anyway, so I'm kind of considering maybe switching. I'm not sure, but it was just kind of weird a little bit. Like, I actually do think he's a good guy. Like, he's like good at his job. So, but when I got there, there was a weird vibe in that place. Maybe it was just there was a weird vibe today, and there's like just a constant weird vibe going on in Canada. Seriously, but there was like some lady sitting in the other seat at the reception, because it's like the massage office or whatever. You go in and there's a front desk and then there's waiting chairs, and like every other office. And there was some like East Indian woman there, and she was like playing videos out loud on her phone, but they were all like, I didn't want to listen. Like, nobody wants to listen to that, right? Nobody wants to listen to other people's videos in a waiting room or on a bus or wherever. But it was all about like emotion regulation of children and all stuff, and she was like scrolling through, and then she took a call and was like talking in her language, but kind of weird. And then the front desk girl, she was fine, but just something I noticed was like they take your payment first. Like, they should take the payment after, because then you could have an option to tip based on the service you received. But yeah, because they give you the payment thing and it's like asking for a tip. It's like, how are you supposed to know if you're gonna tip or not? A tip is based on service generally, right? I know some people think you always tip a certain amount, but personally I think that a tip is like based on service and your perception of it. But anyways, that's like a minor quibble, not really important. And yeah, I don't know. And then after he like knocked me in the head, he was like joking about it a bunch, because, you know, I think he felt pretty uncomfortable about doing that. Like, he was apologizing and stuff, and then trying to make jokes about it. And I was laughing, like, it was not too big of a deal to me, but I just feel like there was kind of a weird vibe. And I really don't like when there's a weird vibe. I think obviously nobody likes that, or a bad vibe. But I think the thing that people don't like is they're wondering if it's them, right? Or if there's something like that they're causing it. And the idea or the general thing is people want to like get away from that, right? So yeah. But yeah, he was like asking me what my favorite dessert is. It sounds really weird. But I think he was just maybe uncomfortable or nervous or something, because he kind of like bumped me in the head. But he was like yawning too. But anyways, I'm talking about this way too much. I know, the whole thing's weird, okay? I understand. But anyway, so another thing that happened today is I got my books. I ordered these books from Father Seraphim Rose from St. Herman Press in Alaska. It's like a small publishing house, Orthodox Christian. And I got God's Revelation to the Human Heart. And the back of it. I got that one. And I also got Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future. And there's the back of it. I really like the cover on this one, actually. I was kind of looking at it, I was thinking, like, it looks like, I don't know, the guy is riding a horse, like an angel. It looks like an angel riding a horse, maybe in heaven, and above, everything getting washed away by the devil, or with the devil. And then in the corner, I think that's God. Or is that maybe, might be Jesus, I'm not sure, at the table. But this one I'm looking forward to, because it talks about, it was written in the 1970s, released in 74 or 75, I believe. And it talks about how in the future, all religions, or there's going to be some sort of like pluralistic religion, multi-faith religion, which is happening, like, or has happened and is currently happening, especially in the Vatican. There was the Council of Assisi, I think, in 1986, where Pope John Paul II he participated in some sort of multi-faith thing, but that's not Christian. He had like the Hindu, some sort of Hindu spiritual thing put on his head, and yeah, that's not Christian. So, but I'm interested to read the book. And then the next book I got was The Soul After Death by Father Seraphim Rose again, obviously, but I think that's a picture of like heaven and hell on the cover. Not too sure. Yeah, this one would be good. It says that the book discusses angels and demons and their manifestation in this world. Yeah. And talks about heaven and hell, their location and reality. Yeah. I'm interested in this one as well. I'm interested in what it says about angels and demons. Because like I've been saying, I feel like I get attacked by demons. Or I have demonic influence inside me. Like, it's really a horrible thing. I don't like that. Of course, like, I don't think anyone would like that. But it's not a good thing. So, yeah. But I talked to my priest about it already. I hope he can help me a little bit more. Then the next one I got, or last one I got, was Genesis, Creation, and Early Man. And this one's like a tome. This one's huge. It's a huge book. But yeah, this one talks about creation and evolution and the debate between creationists and evolutionists, or, you know. I'm interested to read that. Read the argument specifically. It's 1,200 pages. I'm a slow reader. I don't think I may never finish all of these books, especially this one. This one's huge. It's 1,200 pages, you know. But I'm mixed on if I'm happy that I got all of them, and I'll tell you why. I paid like over $200 for these 4 books, and it came out to be so expensive. And I felt a little bit guilted into buying them, which is not a good reason to be buying them, but I was on the fence about whether they'd be good or not, or worth buying. And I think they're worth buying, honestly, to be honest with you. But the thing is, they were so expensive. Like, they're in US, like I live in Canada, so the prices are in US. They wouldn't have been that expensive if I was like American, you know, but it's like $45 for the big one. And I think it was like maybe 5 or 10 for this little one. And then these other two were $15 each, or $14 and $15 each, or respectively, I mean. And yeah, but the conversion to Canadian and then the shipping was like $60 or $70. And I bought it from the publishing house and had to pay like their shipping. And then there was a customs charge when I went to go pick it up at the post office on top of all of that. So it was like an extra like $15 or $17 for customs just to pick it up. It's like, holy cow, you know? They are charging. The thing is, you can't get those books at the library. I checked, maybe like a very specific library or somewhere, like a religious library somewhere, but I couldn't find them at the public library. And the guy I felt a little bit guilted by to get them, but he was just kind of urging about it, obviously because they're very important to him. But he's the guy I evangelized to, the first guy that I talked to in public, having not known them, and he was like really recommending them. So yeah, I paid the money. He actually offered to loan them to me, but I didn't want to because I just kind of felt weird about doing that. And then, yeah, people will be wondering when they get their book back and everything. And yeah. Another guy loaned me a book, and I had it for maybe a month and a half, but he started getting like antsy about getting it back, and I gave it back to him. But like, I'm a slow reader. Like, I don't just sit there and read books like I used to be able to. It's hard for me to do that now. I like reading, but I just find it's hard. I think my brain's fried, kind of. Oh yeah, and I was talking about how I had been on, or how my brain was fried in like one of my last videos. And I forgot to mention, I was talking about all the reasons why, like trauma, recreational drugs, drinking, bullying, too much screen time, pornography use. All these things like lead to frying your brain. But I forgot to add in there, and concussions. I forgot to add in there that I've been on like 5 or 6 different antidepressants and on 3 different stimulants and 3 different antipsychotics, like tried out all of these, not all at the same time, but some of them were at the same time, but tried out all these different things because I believed that at the time, when I was told that they were a good idea, was from doctors and psychiatrists. Like, dude, these people are liars. They are liars, man. Like, I know now more about like what's behind it, because you're basically just taking them as an authority. But I've studied now more about it. It's like, these drugs do not actually help you like you think they might. They make it sound way different. In your mind, you think like they can help you more, but they really don't. Like, I would not recommend them to people. I know that there's probably severe cases where people may need them, but for the amount of people that they put on them and how quickly, dude, they are trying to destroy people. Like, it's horrible. But yeah, I took all of those as well, and the way it fries your brain is that you can get like anhedonia, where you don't really feel anything. And I partially have that. I'm not sure if it's from all these different things, but yeah, I don't recommend antidepressants to people based on personal experience and knowing more of the psychology, like reading the papers, knowing that some of these papers were actually just like forged, like not forged precisely, but the data was messed with. Dr. Joseph Witt-Doerring talks about this, specifically around Paxil or paroxetine, which I had tried before. That one, they messed with the study, and he went over the study that they did. Like, very few people understand this stuff. Very few people actually understand this stuff. People understand stuff at such a basic level, and they trust doctors, right? But these doctors were all lying about the effects and the effectiveness, because he went into the study and found out that they were using like bunk measurements. Like, the measurements were not there wasn't like the validity that they said that they have. Validity is like, you're testing what you say you're testing, and they didn't have that. They were using they were messing with the wording, and the results were not as strong as they made it seem to be. And the guy who signed off on it, I forget his name, but it's like, dude, this guy should be fired. He should go to jail or something, because like, this is pushed to millions of people and children too. It's like, these things mess with people. You gotta be careful with that. But it's like a band-aid solution, obviously, for a very broken world that we live in. But yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And it's really not good. It's evil, actually, what these doctors do. Like, they do it because of self-aggrandization and greed. Like, that's the reason why these doctors will do that stuff. Like, push stuff where it's like not even really doing what they say it's gonna do. And there's all this weird rationalization that goes on as well. But yeah. I think about this and I'm like, psychology is like 50% BS, because I've thought about this, and I want to make it like succinct and summed up for how I describe it. But if anybody asks me about psychology, like, because at first when I went into it, because I did get a honors undergraduate, which I know that's not like as far as you can go. Most people, they get like a master's or a PhD and they go into like research or counseling or whatever. But I did get the honors undergrad. I did have a job working in psychology alongside people, mental health field. I did do research as well. You know, obviously there's a lot more extremes that you can go to and be very expert at. But the thing is, and what I'm taking into account is like the entirety of psychology as I understand it, it's about 50% BS. Like, that's how I would describe it. Like, if you think about all of what's in the field, it's like, it's a huge mix of some true stuff, like around 50%, and about 50% garbage. Not talking about, you know, very rigorous studies. I'm talking about all the stuff that people use the word psychology around. Like, you know, and you could say that's not real psychology, but like over 400 different types of therapy. It's like, it's so hard just to get like what's good out of psychology and to stay away from the bad stuff. And it's sad too, because people are hurting, right? Like, people are suffering. That's the whole idea behind it, is for a lot of people, is how can I alleviate or ameliorate my suffering if it's some sort of mental anguish. And people just can get like dive into it and be stuck in there for so long. But that's not all of life. Like, and also God supersedes psychology, because he supersedes everything. And psychology, a lot of times they try to secularize it and take God completely out so that they can appeal to every single person, every faith or non-faith that people have out there. But they're trying to make it answer questions that it can't answer, like about happiness especially, because when people think of psychology, they think of like feelings. They think of like, oh, I'm messed up, or somebody's messed up, or how do I gain something, or how do I get something, or how do I do this better, or how do I, you know, increase my status, or how do I shortcut, or whatever. That's like a lot of what people think. And that's why I say it's like 50% BS. But yeah, it's a big mix. There is, I guess you could say, good stuff in psychology. It's actually hard to define what's good, because we don't know the second, third, fourth, fifth, nth order effects of things. So I actually really struggle with saying what's good and what's not good, unless I'm very sure, you know. Things that are closer to God are good. God is good, you know. But then how close to God until it starts to be not good, right? And that's an important question. Everything that is good comes from God as well. So yeah, it's a tricky one. All right, so I just want to say thanks be to God, because my car is working. I'm really thankful for that, because, you know, I've been driving around. It's winter time. I've been going to places, appointments. I've been going to the universities to try and evangelize, you know, and my car is working, so I'm thankful for that. My car is like 20 years old or 21 years old, but it still goes. It's a Honda Civic, 250,000 something kilometers. And I'm thankful. I took it in before the winter, in the fall sometime, to see if it would, you know, get it checked and see if it would still work. But I gotta remind myself to keep doing hunter eyes, relaxing my brow. But yeah, it's still working, so I'm thankful to God. And I was feeling tired today, but I feel more rested than usual. Like, I felt like I slept, but I'm still a little bit tired. So I'm really thankful for that, because, man, if you're wired but tired, that sucks. And that's what I felt for a long time. Like, I could, you know, just never get the rest and recovery that I really want. But yeah, that was chronic for me for a long time. I guess it still is, but I would say my voice is getting deeper, and I think that's because I'm getting higher testosterone because I'm eating cleaner. I'm not eating as much garbage. I'm not disrupting my endocrine system as much with uh, what's it called? Hot drinks in disposable plastic cups, or canned soup. These other things like stuff with plastic, it really can disrupt your endocrine system, especially like heated drinks and whatever in like those plastic cups. It's really bad. It'll mess with um, your hormone levels. But I've also been taking like some supplements more steadily, and also mess or playing around with the levels like K2. And I'm reading these studies on Twitter or X, but it said that like vitamin K2, take a higher dose, increases testosterone. Zinc, I think, as well. But yeah, there's some other stuff I want to incorporate. I know that boron and Ceylon cinnamon, and I used to take pomegranate juice, but I've been avoiding that because it has high sugar. I'm not sure if I'm going to try that again. Pomegranate juice is supposed to be very good for you. But what else? I gotta improve my sleep. Sleep is really important for high testosterone. But the reason for getting having high testosterone is that it's actually a good thing. Like if you can do it naturally without messing up your levels, then that's a good thing. And if you were to supplement it, you would only really want to do that when you're older. I think you wouldn't want to do that when you're younger. Like you want to do that when you're like 40 or 50. I think that's the general advice for an exogenous tea. But yeah, higher testosterone is a good thing, I believe. I think it's good for society, really. And it doesn't necessarily like make you like a worse person. I think it's a good thing. Like low testosterone, like weak people, they're not, you know, that's not a good thing, you know. But yeah. I would say that it's tough to be a man, but I'm not trying to really complain that much. But I think that you just have to keep on moving, like keep on going. It is really tough though, and no one really like, not too many men want to talk about it. Partly because it's like if you start to talk about it, that's kind of gay. Like that's kind of not a manly thing to do just in itself, you know. So there's a grit your teeth and bear it aspect to it, but it really is like, and I'm not trying to just like complain and whine, but I gotta say, dude, everybody hates men. Like even other men, like there's not goodwill among men going on outside, you know. So it's kind of hard, and there's not many like leaders as well, and yeah, so but men are also amazing. Like every time you talk about positively about men, it almost feels like you're almost obligated to say something the corollary to women, but men are awesome, especially groups of men. Groups of women is like what a disaster. They can be, it can be good, I suppose, but yeah, I don't know, you know, like you shouldn't always like have it mixed up all the time. I guess that's fine, but groups where it's just men, it's great. You can like just relax, get stuff done, talk about politics and whatever you want to talk about. Yeah, that's a good thing. Um, and also groups of men, they can like strengthen each other and like be friends and stuff, you know. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that messes with that. But yeah, I think all of it has to be like Christ centered, like, you know. I think that's a very important part of it. I went to the gym today. It's funny, I couldn't even really remember. Like, I can't really remember what I do in the mornings by the time it's evening sometimes. Like, I'll be thinking, like, what did I do today so I could make a vlog and talk about it? And I can't even really remember sometimes. Like, that's, my memory's like fried. And I don't know if that's all just due to the stuff that I mentioned, like the bad stuff that, you know, would have given me brain damage or messed with my nervous system. I don't know if it's all due to that or if it's like some other reason, but kind of like a brain fog thing. It just sucks, honestly. But I feel less depressed lately, and I wonder if that's partly due to zinc because I saw a study on that. I've been taking zinc that it can lower depression, but it's probably a mix of things that's helping that. But I want to get another multivitamin. I ran out. I was taking the 10x one. I will try to evangelize tomorrow. Again, I'll go out to the university and try again. Yeah, I just have to remain humble. It's a very important thing is to remain humble. Yeah, I feel lonely. I'm just reading like things that I wrote down. I feel lonely, but I felt lonely for years and years and years. So, yeah, it's kind of like a chronic loneliness. It's really a horrible feeling. Probably felt that way for most of my life, but yeah, I have a song stuck in my head on repeat almost all the time when I'm either not talking to someone or like making a video like now. There's always a song on repeat in my head. I'm kind of used to it. I don't like it, but I'm kind of used to it. I bought a chapstick today at the dollar store. It had a weird taste to it. I don't like it. I'll try and probably go buy a different one. I saw fat people at the gym today, which actually I think is a good thing to see. I'm happy to see that, and I don't. I'm not one of these people that like makes fun of people for going to the gym. I think it's ridiculous if you do. But I do have a voice in my head that's sometimes really mean to people. It's not like I'm hearing a voice. It's more like I just think I get thoughts when I'm walking around sometimes. It's like thoughts come to me that are just kind of mean. And I think a lot of people have this. I'm not trying to say it's just a me thing, but like sometimes I'll be walking and going somewhere and there's somebody coming and they're like in the way and they're not like going through the door or whatever, and I'll think like, get out of the way, faggot, or something like this. Like, it's just kind of like a mean thing that my head or my thoughts will say. And yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of had something going on like that. So I wonder if it's like, I don't really think it's like a schizophrenia, because I know that's kind of like what people might think very quickly, but I kind of wonder. So I wonder if it's that. Like, I'm not really sure, but I don't hear like voices like you would think in a schizophrenia. But I have some of the other things associated with that, but I'm not really sure what's going on with me. But and I've tried to find out. It's just so hard to find out and get like proper help, or even if there is like proper help, you know, it's kind of all just a big illusion, sort of. Because it's like you're always feels like you're trying to get to the light at the end of the tunnel, but yeah, it's really just a constant state of pain. Not trying to whine too much, but legitimately. And I would say, I wonder if I have like DID or dissociative identity disorder. They used to call this multiple personality disorder, and I actually did pretty in-depth research on this for one of my classes. But the reason I wondered that is because I went through so much trauma as a kid. Well, I realized and I learned like, well, what that is when they say people have multiple personalities or dissociated identities is it's basically just people have like one identity, but it becomes fractured, and trauma is generally what does that. And the fracturing is essentially, it's your brain, your body, or kind of, it's hard to say exactly what, but it's a protective mechanism. So you may essentially, different identities or personalities, if you want to call them that, will come out depending on what situation you know, yourself feels like it's in. If you feel like you're being threatened, a protector comes out. It could be somebody very confident or knows a lot or whatever, but that's because you feel like you're being threatened, right, from something in the outside world. And the other thing is, you may not even really realize it too, but that kind of protector identity comes out. And then another one is like, well, some people, they can, I think this is especially common with the with DID, or they don't really call it multiple personalities anymore, but another one is like an age regression, where if somebody feels like safe or something like that, they will act like they're younger. It's almost like a it could be like a little kid or like a baby, but like, I'm not really trying to make fun of these people or myself or anything. I'm just saying that this stuff kind of, it does happen, and it's related to trauma, right? It's related to interrupted or arrested development, and it's not something really to make fun of. Like, I pray that, you know, I could get through this, be more coherent, and everything. But I wish that for other people as well, you know, like, it sucks like dealing with all that stuff. But yeah, you can have other quote unquote personalities or identities too, but they fall into like main categories, like protector, guardian, little, you know, little kid or whatever. And it's hard to find like the true self or whatever. And then also that quote unquote true self is like in relation to other people too, right? Your personality, who you are, is actually kind of like in relation to other people, which is, it's true, but a lot of people feel like they're very individualized. Well, not as much as you might think. But anyway, they kind of go together, and in an ideal thing, there's a flow, like a continuity between you and other people, right? And you'd be praising God together, right? That's kind of why there is a you. Like, that's kind of why there is an individual, because the individual is required in order to love, like have free will to love. There has to be an individual to be able to have that choice, right? Because love is a choice. You can't force it. Otherwise, it doesn't really, that defeats it. It's not a forced thing. You can't force somebody to love you. It's a choice, right? I'm just laughing because it's so obvious. At least I think. But, yeah. Okay. And yeah, I think it's good that fat people go to the gym. That's what it's there for, right? I try to encourage them. When I get like a mean thought in my head, I try and like sometimes counterbalance it and remind myself, like, and actually I'll like praise, not praise, but like offer encouragement in my head to other people, like, yeah, keep it up, you know, you're doing it. So anyways, I genuinely think it's good to see. But yeah, having the mean voice in your head or the negative voice, negative thoughts sucks. I saw a video on Twitter by repost or something by Ricardo Duchesne. It's like a Canadian researcher, or I'm not sure exactly what field. It seems to be either psychology or sociology or something, but he's a guy who is like super opposed to mass migration, and he wrote a book I think called Canada in Decay. He just talks about degeneration in society, in Canadian society. But he reposted a video, and he's like super pro-white. He posted a video about, I would say he's like super pro-white, but he's more like he's like super pro-truth, which seems to coincide with being pro-white, because he's reacting largely to all the propaganda against white people. But he reposted a video, and it was this like a TikTok of like a pretty blonde young girl in some sort of outfit, like looked like a stewardess or airline outfit or whatever, and she was in like maybe an airport where there was an elevator with tons of people getting off, and she was just like standing there, and she was like, you know, some beautiful, probably looked kind of like Russian or something, or whatever type of girl, like around Russia or something, and it was recording all the reactions of the people as she got off, and there were so many scowls from women. It's actually hilarious. Like, it's weird how people are different when you talk to them in a one-on-one. They're such liars, dude. People don't tell you their true thoughts and feelings and whatever, and sometimes they don't even, it seems like, know. And then you get a video of the real life. There's like a really attractive woman standing there. There's like all these women getting off the elevator or the escalator, and they're like scowling at her. They like scowl at her. It's like a lot of older women, a lot of even younger women, and then the men, you know, they're like looking twice or whatever. But it's so true, man. Like all the look stuff. But yeah, he was just saying that the AI was, it was weird how the AI is accurate, because it kind of assessed this video and said that people who watched this video would feel Schadenfreude. It's like a Schadenfreude. I don't know. It's a German word. I'm probably not saying it correctly, but it is about when you feel good, if you feel good when you see other people experiencing pain or something like that. So the viewer would feel Schadenfreude or validation. I felt validation from seeing this, because it's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Women's biggest enemy is other women. Or no, women's biggest critic is other women. That's a funny one. But anyway. Oh my goodness. I shouldn't really laugh at it, but it's just funny. I would say that for humanity, the internet is like Pandora's box. Or Pandora's box got opened with the internet. It's like, we're not like evolved for all of this, you know. So anyways, the other thing I wanted to say is that my cat is so nice. I know it's a weird transition, but he's so nice. He's a good kitty. Cats are actually good if you have complex PTSD like I do, or just a pet in general. Although I think a cat or a dog would be best, but it's because it's another nervous system that you're regulating with, you know. So they're good animals, you know. It's good to have a pet. It'd be better to have, you know, support and everything, and a loving community and family, but I don't think everybody has that option or is able to get that. And for me, I can't keep relationships easily with people, and I find it very difficult to do that. It just gets really difficult. I don't know. I've always kind of had trouble with it. I had friends though when I was younger, so I don't know, but it's really tough. And keeping a relationship, like a romantic relationship, so difficult, man, so difficult. Although I want one, like I want relationships and friendships, or relationship and friendships, but it's very difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to date, and I think like optimizing is kind of a trap, or like always waiting for like the best person. I don't really know about that, you know. Yeah, because it's like if you go and you pick something, like if you go and you just pick something, let's say you have a time limit, you go to the pet store, and there's like a bunch of different kittens, and you're like, which one is the one, the one, the one? Well, if you just pick any of them, you know, eventually you're really gonna love that cat. So with women, it might be similar, although you get so many horror stories, right, about everything going wrong. But then the other thing is that if you get a relationship when you're younger, which is ideal, and get married, you grow together. So when you're older, it gets way harder, right? And then there's another thing about pair bonding. You actually want to be able to like bond as a pair, and it becomes harder as you get older, and as you have more sexual partners as well, or like date more people. Yeah, so that stuff is real. I know people maybe don't want to hear that or what, but that stuff is real. It's like when people are talking about, that's why I say it's like people have like different personalities almost sometimes, because when people talk about and think about what relationship they want and everything, it's like they're thinking idealized, but then reality is always like biting at the edges and closing in, you know, which is the clock ticking. But I'm not like super upset about any of it or anything like that. I'm just kind of pointing out the real situations that many people face. Not everybody. Some people have great relationships and they're very blessed, you know. So that's what we want to see more of. Like, we wish, but that's not the trend that things are going down, is my point. Yeah. I think a lot of it we've been poisoned by our culture and everything too. There's so many horror stories, and people talk about the divorce rate is like 50-50 or whatever, or 60%, I don't even know. And then people have all these complaints, and women, they're just like complaining about men all the time, or used to be. I don't know if they do it as much anymore, but probably do. But it's like, dude, our culture is toxic, and I personally, I grew up in a toxic family, and it's like what you want in a family to have grown up in is examples. Like, you want an example of your parents together. They will literally just give you a good example and you can follow it. But like, the toxic part that I grew up in was I had horrible examples everywhere, and everybody was just telling me horror stories and don't do this, don't do this. They weren't giving me any like positive route or anything to follow, you know, and it was just such a mess. So it's like, how do you figure that shit out? Like, how do you trust any advice? How do you take any advice? And people will talk about, in my family at least, or a lot of people in general, they will try and talk about such important and huge topics, but they'll try and go over it in like fucking 5 seconds. Excuse my language. But they'll try and go over it in like, literally they'll try and speed run it in like 5 or 10 seconds and then move on to something else. It's like, dude, how are people supposed to like figure anything out from that? You know? You don't have to overdo it, but a good example is worth so much, just to see like what does a healthy family and healthy interactions look like, and there's like not that many. Mine wasn't. But also I had my own toxic choices, or my own choices as well, you know, a lot in response to how I grew up, but a lot of it I had my own free choice as well. And so those are my sins, you know, a lot of those. So yeah, but I would say that like living like a sinful life when you have energy and everything, it kind of feels like it's all good. But when you start to not have energy and you're in pain and you're facing consequences, there's a big difference. Big difference. When you're younger, you can kind of somewhat almost make it seem like it's going to work. But yeah. It's about paths, right? It's like the path of destruction or the path of life. But yeah, I think women are retarded. Like, they're almost impossible to talk to. And the reason I say this is because we're taught that we're supposed to talk to them like they're men, like that they're equal to men and everything, and that they can think like men. They can't. It's like we were told this. People know this instinctively. We're told this at certain points, but then we get told the complete opposite, and we're not allowed to like speak the truth. Like, dude, it's just, yeah. Women are unable to reason like they're men, so they have to pretend like they're men, and it's putting them in a weird position, really. And I relate it to the story of the scorpion and the frog. It's in my nature or whatever. The scorpion lies to the frog to get across the river, and then he stings him halfway, and as they're sinking, the frog says, "Why did you sting me?" And the scorpion says, "Because it's in my nature." So you could substitute the scorpion for a Jew, you could substitute the scorpion for a woman, whatever, but it's just the moral holds true. It's like, if it's in somebody's nature, they're going to follow through with it at some point. But the weird thing is that we're like in this inverted environment where everybody's lying all the time, and people get rewarded for lying as well in the short term. Meanwhile, society falls apart. But yeah. One example I gotta give is, and this is kind of a stupid example, but there's like so many. And I know people could probably say like the same thing for men. A lot of people do. It's like, that's like the chorus that goes off, is it's just people try and compare it to men, but yeah, I don't know. Just one example I'll give, and I guess you could say it doesn't represent all women, but I was talking to this one girl on Hinge who said that, I know it's not a great example or whatever, it's just a Hinge thing, but she said she was interested in conspiracy theories in her bio, and I said, "Do you know about the Great Replacement?" And I know it's a weird message to say, but I just wanted to see what she would say. And she said, "No, fill me in." And I told her, like, white people are getting replaced, and in America in 1945 the white population was 90.6%, and now in 2025 it was, or is, 56 point something percent. And she says, "That sounds far-fetched." I'm like thinking to myself, this girl is retarded, dude. So I said, "How?" And she responded like, "What's the motive?" Like, dude, are you retarded? These people are legitimately retarded. Like, how are you supposed to, like, are we screwed? Like, seriously. Dude. Are we screwed? People cannot think. But yeah. It's just weird. It's like, that's like the definition of replacement. It's demographic replacement. But yeah, anyway. And she switched to asking about motive. It's like, come on. Come on. If it's happening, that's a fact. Like, you can't really deny it. But I guess the thing is that, yeah, again, women are not really they're not really like capable. It's like they're not capable. Like, they're consensus based, in thinking. But yeah. Another thing I wanted to say is, I know I'm switching a lot of topics, but how am I supposed to work? Like, I don't know. I'm happy if my job is just evangelizing, going around evangelizing. So I'll keep doing that. I'm just, I'm thankful that I have time off work to do all this, and I'm not going to think about money. I'm trying not to think about money. But it's tough being in a state of not knowing if my disability payments will get cut off. And I feel guilty about being on disability. And living in guilt and shame is horrible. I've done it for most of my life. You don't want to be doing that, okay? Nobody wants to be doing that. But yeah, the way to get out of that is, it's not easy. It's I think it's therapy, prayer, asking for mercy, repentance. I guess I would start with prayer. But yeah, therapy could be a part, yeah. But yeah, it's horrible, dude, it's horrible. But a lot of people live like that, to be honest. So, yeah. I hope to sleep. I just feel like sleeping. Hope I get a good sleep. And I wonder what's going on broadly in the world, like with energy, like people's energy. Obviously, people don't seem okay. Like everybody's watching everybody else online, but partly I think spending too much time online is probably a big issue. But it does represent what's going on in the world, and a lot of the videos do. But yeah, the data itself too. It's like, what's going on with people, But, with just the general energy of people, it seems like it's being messed around with compared to, if you just look at videos from a long time ago, 1940s or 50s or whatever, people just seemed different, wouldn't you say? Their cadence, the way they talk, yeah, it just seems very different. The flow generally, but I wonder if the COVID vaccine has messed with people. I wonder this often, and partly I wonder it about people's eyes. I wonder if that's got to do with the vaccine, but it's around people's eyes. They just look almost like pale skin and kind of sallow and somewhat like just, they don't look as good as they do sometimes, like other times, like a healthy person. But I don't know if that's vaccine related or not. I also wonder if electromagnetic frequency is going on, but there's probably a lot of things that are destabilizing people and the population. But the weird thing I saw and I heard about this before, but it was recently on Joe Rogan podcast, the Philippi something, head researcher of the ground scans beneath the pyramids of Egypt, the Great Pyramid, and they found like a 2 or 4 kilometer columns that are, like 30 meters wide, and at the bottom of those there's like chambers that are 80 by 80 by 80 meters. So there's these massive columns underneath the pyramids revealed in ground penetrating radar, and then at the very bottom there's these humongous chambers, and I believe there's some sort of a spiral structure around these columns. If you think I'm making this up, it's all real. The data is there. And the technology is like benchmarked on known structures. So they've also used that technology on like a mountain that had a giant thing in the middle of it, like 1.6 kilometers down or something like that. And it was completely accurate, the readings. And so this guy, he came out with all of this information, and I was listening to it on Joe Rogan, but it's like, what is that? And they're talking about excavation or investigation. I would hope they would do that, but it's like, dude, this rewrites everything like that we were taught growing up. Our whole world is like topsy-turvy. We were taught like a lie. But the thing I think about everything a lot of the time is I think it's always rediscovering, because everything's in a rhythm, everything goes on perhaps forever, like infinitely, right? Because God is infinite. But it's like just a rediscovery, I guess, because at some point people knew about this. Obviously, ancient societies or whoever built it. We don't know, like, what's down there. I wonder if the Ark of the... This is, just theorizing. I wonder if the Ark of the Covenant is down there. Like, that's just a very out there kind of theory, but, in the Old Testament, the Ark of the Covenant was where God was. And it was created by the Israelites according to God's specifications, and they carried it around with them everywhere, and it guided them, or God guided them and gave them instructions, and there was a pillar of fire, and Moses would go into the tent of meeting, and go to the Ark of the Covenant, and only he could, and other people would try and they'd die. Or they'd worship incorrectly and they'd die. The ground would open up and swallow them. But I heard on a different video, I don't know if it was the Y-Files or where it was on, or if it was something else, but it said that the Ark of the Covenant is still out there, but it's being guarded or kept by an evil force. And I wondered, man, it's like a very powerful evil force. I was wondering, wow, I wonder if that's true. Obviously, all of it could not be true, but not the part about God, that is true, but the part about it's hidden somewhere, because nobody knows where it is, right? If it's still out there or what, but we do know that there's this massive thing under the pyramids, just going back to that. And what is that? So we'll see what is that. But I know that everything is vibrational. Like, people kind of know this, right? Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know, I don't know if he said the secrets of the universe or about the universe or what. He said, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. Well, everything is vibrational. I'm not saying I really want to know, like, the secrets of the universe or anything. I'm just saying that my thoughts are that this spiral thing, like, it's an energy generator. Like, that's what Joe Rogan was saying that Christopher Dunn was talking about, some other engineer or something that did something with the pyramids research or whatever. But it's some sort of an energy generation thing. And what it really is harnessing energy, right? Energy is all around. Or, yeah, so... yeah. I wonder what that is. And I wonder what's going on with people's personalities. There's a monotoning going on. Like, there was a lot of variance in personalities and everything, before. But now it's like people are more so just kind of like monotonely, becoming more monotone a lot of the time, or in a lot of ways. Or their personalities seem to be shifting. I don't know. I don't know if that's related to COVID. That was what the Surgeon General of Florida said, that the COVID vaccine could change people's DNA and thus their personalities, which is, not a nice thing to think about, really. But, yeah, there's a crazy amount of psyops, like psychological operations that have gone on and have been done to people, and there's a lot of evidence about it. I'd like to get some more hard evidence, just so if somebody challenges me on that, I could say, well, what about this, Even though I have a lot of what you could say soft evidence, but I'd like some more, like, specifically hard evidence. MK Ultra is one, obviously, but, yeah. So society is being destroyed more and more and more by design. People have talked about this for a long time, been called crazy forever, but obviously it's happening. And, if it's not obvious to you, we live in different realities. That's what I talk about, how people live in different realities, but some people genuinely do live in, like, different realities where they believe different fundamental truths, and yet we live in the same world. It's really weird, but that's what's going on now. And I just wanted to say that nothing feels fun anymore, like Andrew Tate was saying in the Nick Fuentes meetup stream or whatever. He was saying that nothing feels fun anymore, and I agree. Like, dude, nothing feels fun like it used to. And I don't think that's just a a part of being older. I think that, like, dude, everything feels fun sucked out. Like, the fun is sucked out. So, yeah, I would say that this era sucks, but we have to praise God always. You know, good times, bad times, always thank God. That is most important. Always worship God, praise Him. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Man. Crazy, crazy. I'm happy that I'm making these videos because my own personality is coming out more, which I'm thankful for, because I kind of lost my personality for a while because I had to do this job that sucked so badly, and I lived in like a town where I had no friends. I moved to this tiny town and I went there to do a job, and I had, like, you know, my ideas of how it was going to go, and the reality was so much different. It sucked. The people there, I did not get along with, like, any of them. It was such a struggle just to get along with anyone. I worked with a ton of women. Dude, it sucked so bad. It freaking sucked. And the part that's, like, really hard is, dude, you start to go kind of crazy, like, if you can't be yourself around anyone. It's just miserable. It's so soul-sucking. And everyone was so fake. This was a town in British Columbia. But, like, Canadians are super fake. Seriously. Sucked. But anyway, give thanks to God all the time for everything. You know, we don't know the fullness of God's plan, so always praise Him. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.